Greetings, family, greetings. How y'all doing? Happy Sabbath, happy Shabbat. Welcome again to another Bible Studies Live. My name is Brother Moses. We got Sister Kelly, my reader. And I think we know that this month, February, is what they call Black History Month. So we come on, like always, to teach about our history because they've been the history that we grew up with in school. That's really not our history. That's their history. So what we're gonna do, we teach Black history according to the Bible, and we do it according to scriptures. But we have this lesson break up in like 3 or 4 parts. So the first part is genealogy. So today the lesson is about genealogy. Next week's is going to be about color. Because what we're trying to do, we are trying to establish who the children of Israel, who they are, as far as what we know, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to, as usual, we're going to open up with the laws. We're going to start this lesson with the laws. So Sister Kelly, when you're ready, I am ready. Because I got a little bit of stuff here I got to try to manipulate around. So when you're ready, you can go ahead.
And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
You're going blank.
But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Revelation 22, 13 through 15. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter into the city, into the gates, into the city. For without are dogs and sorcerers and whoremongers and murderers and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie. Ecclesiastes 12, 13 and 14. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment, with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
Sisters, these are the laws we read when we come on the platform. These laws are commanded for us to keep. Brothers and sisters, these laws are not done away with. Don't let no one try to convince you that these laws are done away with. Anyone that is doing so, brothers and sisters, they are trying to rob you of your salvation. And we always urge the people, urge the brothers and sisters, please don't let no one steal your crown. If we're going to be kings and queens, we need that crown. Don't let no one steal it. So we know we have to keep those laws. Keep those laws. We cannot be lawless people. With that being said, happy Sabbath, happy Shabbat to all the Sabbath keepers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please, brothers and sisters, share, like and share the platform, like and share. And we also would like to get your feedback at the end of the lesson, as always. Like, comment, and share. And please subscribe. Again, this is one of the, in February, you know, America, they do the Black History Month. But the history that they give us in school is not accurate. Not only that, they always give us the history of when we started on the shores of America. But what happened, what were we prior to the shores of America? Who were we prior to the shores of America? So what we do, we came up with a Black history lesson and we split it in 4 parts. So today's part 1, we're going to talk about genealogy. We're not going to go into every nation's genealogy, but just the prominent ones. Who we're talking about? Israel and Esau and Shem, which is Esau and Shem, they are brothers. So we're going to go into the scriptures and we're going to see who these people is. What we're going to do, we're going to start this lesson from the 3 sons of Noah, because we're talking about this side of the flood. We come in on this side of the flood, not prior to the flood, all right? So we're not going to Adam, we're going from Noah and his 3 sons. So first of all, brothers and sisters, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for the purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and educational research. So a lot of the contents that we have, some of the contents that we have, we do not own the rights to them. We do not own the rights to them. Fair use, okay? For educational purposes only. So, this is our cover page. Look nice, doesn't it? Mr. Kelly did it. Black History According to the Bible, Part 1, Genealogy. Okay, on this side of the flood, we're going to start with these 3 boys, these 3 guys, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. These are the 3 sons of Noah, and they were saved. They were part of the ones that were saved on the ark was Noah and his family. So Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their 3 wives. And from those 3 sons were the whole earth populated. So what we're going to do, we're going to start in the book of Genesis chapter 10. We're going back to the beginning where it all started. Genesis chapter 10, and we're going to read verse 1 to verse 5. Now remember, brothers and sisters, we're starting from those 3 sons of Noah. Genesis chapter 10. And what we're going to, another thing we're going to do, we're going to be reading from the NLT. The reason why we read from the NLT is because the NLT is like in simple term. You know, the King James Version, we subscribe to the King James Version. That's the book we predominantly read. But it's in Old English, and sometimes a lot of people don't really get it. So we go after the NLT. It talks the way we talk, so it'd be better and clearly understood. So we're going to read from the NLT, and every now and then the sister is going to give you a reminder of where we at, okay? So Genesis chapter 10, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. We're going to read 1 to 5. We're going to read about these 3 boys that came from Noah. Sister, when you're ready, I am ready.
This is the account of the families of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the 3 sons of Noah. Many children were born to them after the great flood. The descendants of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tiras. The descendants of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Rephath, and Togoma. The descendants of Javan were Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Rodanim. Their descendants became the seafaring peoples that spread out to various lands, each identified by its own language, clan, and national identity.
And when you read the King James Version, it says, these were the isles of the Gentiles, right? In the King James Version, it reads, these were the isles of the Gentiles. So, we're talking about the sons of Japhet. We're going to go through these sons one by one, right? So the sons of Japhet, I want y'all to keep a notice on the son that they call Ashkenaz. The reason why, because this is very prominent. Ashkenaz, when you look at the people that is living, the predominantly people that is living in Jerusalem that is calling themselves the Jews, they are Ashkenazi Jews. The Ashkenazi Jews, right? So where we read here that Ashkenaz came from Japhet, but we know that the people, which is God's chosen people, that he actually came through the lineage, did not come from Japhet. He came from Shem, and we're going to show that in the lesson also. So right there off the back that we see that we have a discrepancy. What is it? If these people are Ashkenazi descent, how can they be the people of the land over there? This cannot be. This is a problem. So on the screen here, we got these Ashkenazi Jews, which are they have Turkish roots. So these Ashkenazi Jews, they are European born. So the scientists revealed Jewish history forgotten Turkish roots, the independence of the independent. So these people are the descendants of Ashkenaz. Read this on the screen, sis. I can't blow it up because you're gonna mess with the thing. All about the Ashkenazi Jews and the genealogy research. These are research that was done on these people who call themselves the Jewish people, the Ashkenazi, right? Go ahead.
Ashkenazi or Ashkenazic Jews, Ashkezim plural, are the largest identifiable Jewish culture whose ancestry goes back to Eastern Europe.
Where they went back, where they go back to? The ancestors go back to where?
Eastern Europe.
The Eastern Europe, right? Go ahead.
Although local churches were required by law to keep records of the general population, local Jewish congregations created their own records and kept them in their own custody.
And there's a reason why they do this, because these people, they run the world. They run the world. Even though that we, according to the scriptures, according to the Bible, that the Israelite in these last days ain't gonna be running nothing but the mouth, just like what I'm doing right now, running my mouth. We ain't running nothing but our mouth. We ain't running no world. We ain't running no government. We ain't running no institute. We ain't running nothing. These people, they run the media. They own the media. They own Hollywood. Even our superstars, our basketball players, our rap artists, the rap industry, these are the people that fund them. Because these people are the one that has the money. They say who owns the money? Owns the world. They're the one running things. We ain't running nothing, right? Go ahead.
Many of these records are being gathered into the Knowles collection at Family Search. Genealogical research on Ashkenazi Jews is aided by understanding their migration paths, record-keeping systems, language, and traditions developed over time.
And we're gonna go in depth and read some more about these people who calling themselves the Jewish people. And we have to understand, why do they use the word Jewish? Anything ish is not original. When you put ish behind something, then you change the whole meaning of the word itself. If something is bluish, is it really blue? If something is reddish, is it really red? So if these people call themselves Jewish, are they really the Jews? I don't think so, brothers and sisters. All right? Tracing the matrilineal line, because another thing with these so-called Jewish people, they go to the mother. They don't go through the father, right? So tracing the matrilineal line, go ahead.
The research shows the origins of the matrilineal line for the Ashkenazi Jews comes from Europe. This goes against the common belief that Jewish people first arrived in Central Europe after the Benzonite Sassanian War of 602 to 628 and only began settling in Germany in the medieval period.
So the Byzantine time, these people originated in Europe because this is where they settled when God scattered the sons of Noah. Started from where? The Tower of Babel. When Nimrod and them was building this tower, God came down, confounded the language, and he scattered them, right? Everybody was scattered into their own part of the world, own regions, right? Go ahead.
Ashkenazi Jews is a term used today to describe these Jewish people, individuals who built religiously based communities centuries later in Central and Eastern Europe. One of the things they are recognized for is the use of Yiddish, a High German language written in the Hebrew alphabet and influenced by classical Hebrew and Aramaic.
So this is another thing. The language is Yiddish. The so-called Hebrew that they're speaking is not really Hebrew. Is Yiddish. Is broken English. Just like how we from the island speak broken English, this is a broken Hebrew. It's not really Hebrew, right? So the thing is, they claim that they never lost their tongue, right? Because I've seen a lot of them in debates on the same platform, YouTube, and they always try to hit the black Israelites, with something like, y'all don't even know the language. We never lost our language. But the language that they speak is not even Hebrew, it's Yiddish. So another thing, they are the descendants of German people, right? So they claim that they were in concentration camps. Hitler had them in concentration camps. Russia, because these people are also descendants of Russia. They're Slavic people. They're Slav people. So you have Russia over there, Iran, Turkey, Yugoslavia. All of those regions over there is where these people migrated from, right? This is where they was born. So even the president of Egypt at one time, he said, these people can never get respect because they left Israel black and came back white. How is this a whole nation of people left a land, one color, and came back a different color? Does this make sense, brothers and sisters? No. The Ashkenazi Jews is a term used today to describe these Jewish people, individuals who built religious-based communities. Centuries later, in the Central and Eastern Europe. And they're recognized for their use of the Yiddish language. So even some of our people who say that they speak in Hebrew today, since our language was lost through constant enslavement or captivity or slavery, how do we know that the language that they're teaching us and saying is Hebrew? How do we know it's Hebrew since we don't even know Hebrew? So what we are learning is from these people that gave these languages to us. We lost those languages during the many captivity that we had. The Yiddish, go ahead. Read
The
from there.
Yiddish calligraphic segment in the Worms Mazor. In 2013, study co-author Martin Richards, an archaeologist and archaeogeneticist of the University of Huddersfield in England, said that while Ashkenazi Jews have lived in Europe for many centuries, the results of the study using DNA samples show that most European Jews descend from local people who converted to Judaism, not individuals who left Israel and the Middle East around 2,000 years ago.
So from DNA research finds that these people did not left Israel. And these people, what they do, they converted to Judaism. So now, another problem. If you are the Jew, if you claim to be the Jew, why do you have to convert to your own religion? Why are you converting to something that you are? So that's clearly showing that they are not the original people. That's why they have to convert, because they're not the original people. Because if you were the Jews, then you don't have to convert, because that's who you are. Let's go to Genesis 9. Go back to Genesis 9 and read from 24 to 27. Genesis 9, 24 to 27.
When Noah woke up from his stupor, he learned that Ham, his youngest son, had done what Ham, his youngest son, had done. Then he cursed Canaan, the son of Ham. May Canaan be cursed. May he be the lowest of servants to his relatives.
Mm-hmm.
Then Noah said, May the Lord, the God of Shem, be blessed, and may Canaan be his servant.
Mm-hmm.
May God expand the territory of Japheth. May Japheth share this prosperity of Shem, and may Canaan be his servant.
So now we see that Japheth territory was expanded. To these people, what they did, they left Europe, migrated in all these other nations, and what they did, they actually took over. So when you read the King James Version, it says, Japheth will dwell in the tents of Shem. So right now, brothers and sisters, who is in our home? Who is in the home of Shem? The Japhites. That's what we're reading. Japhet shall dwell in the tents of Shem. So that's who is living in Shem's home, which is Jerusalem. We have a lot of people saying that Jerusalem can't be the land. Brothers and sisters, if Jerusalem is not the land, then this Bible is no good. Because the prophecies, them that is written inside of this Bible, they have to come to pass. They have to come to pass. So it have to happen. So if they say Jerusalem going to be trodden down of the Gentiles until Christ return, how can the land be hidden that it would not be trodden down when Christ come? How can it be hidden? Let's go and see these people who is over there. I'm going to show you something. So, the Rothschilds Boulevard, these people also, they are called the Rothschilds. Who is the Rothschilds? The Rothschilds is the people who actually started the banking system. These are the people that owns the money. They owns the money. And coincidentally, the main boulevard that is in Tel Aviv, what is the name of the main boulevard? The Rothschilds Boulevard. Is this something? Read this, sis.
I'm only just still seeing the link.
Oh, okay, hold on. All right. Can you see that?
Yes.
This is from the website Tourist Israel, the guide. Tourist Israel. This is from the website. And this is about Tel Aviv, right? The Rothschilds Boulevard in Tel Aviv. Go ahead.
Rothschild Boulevard is one of the most important and iconic streets in Tel Aviv. Located in the heart of the city of Tel Aviv, Rothschild Boulevard is a commercial center. It has major financial institutions lining the street, a cultural center with the main theater and concert hall of Tel Aviv, a culinary center with tons of top restaurants, and a leisure center. The walkway in the center of the boulevard is popular with dog walkers, bikers, and some of Tel Aviv's wealthiest and most beautiful who stop off at the amazing coffee kiosks found in the center of the street.
So this Rothschild, why is it that the main boulevard over there in Tel Aviv is called the Rothschilds Boulevard? Because these Rothschilds are the descendants of Ashkenaz. They're the Ashkenazi Jews. They're the one running Jerusalem. They're the one that is running things over there. The people of the land that came out of the land, they are not from the Rothschilds. They're not from the Ashkenaz. They're the descendants of Shem, not Japhet. Go ahead.
Rothschild Boulevard was one of the first streets to rise in Tel Aviv over 100 years ago. The original name, Rehav means the street of the people. Its new name reflects the generosity of Baron Edmund James de Rothschild of the French Rothschild banking dynasty. Interestingly, it was not originally a boulevard. This was because draining the dry wadi, I don't know if that's an I or L,
Yeah.
draining the dry waddle,
Wadi.
what,
Wadi.
which ran along the middle, was too big a challenge. The street ran on either side, forming the first of a number of the boulevards which can be found in the city. These now characterized the city's image and architecture.
Mm-hmm.
Each side of the street towers with beautiful Beaz buildings. It's the iconic architecture of Tel Aviv, which led to its recognition as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. While ageless, many of these have undergone extensive restoration. They now house the offices of financial institutions, creative firms, restaurants, cafes, and luxury residences. Alongside these buildings sit some of the tallest skyscrapers in Tel Aviv, built more recently, mostly to house bank headquarters. They beautifully contrast with the traditional buildings of the street.
So the Rothschilds, they are the one that actually started up the banking system, right? They're the one that started the banking system. Is it crazy to say that every year over $100 million is funded back into Israel from America? Why are they sending all this money over there if these people are the one that owns the money? That's it right there, brothers and sisters. That's the reason why the money goes right back to Israel, because they're the one that owns the money. They're the one that owns treasury. They're the one that started the banking system. So that's why the money goes right back to them. Over $100 million a year, America fund into Israel. Is Israel dying for money? Are they needy for money? No. They owns the money. They're the one that owns the Hollywood. They're the one that runs the news. They're the one that predict where you can put on the news and what you can't. And if you say something against them, they label you as an anti-Semitic. But brothers and sisters, how can you be anti yourself? If we are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, how can you be anti yourself? So we see people like Kyrie Irving, we see people like the basketball players, Kanye West. When these people say that they are Jews or they are the people, they get silenced fast. And how can they silence them? Because the money that they're getting come from these same people. The money that the rap industry is getting coming from these same people. The money that the sports people is getting coming from these same people. That's why they're able to silence them. Because if they don't, if they keep talking, what they do? They take the finance away from them because the money is coming from them. And what they do, they keep the rap industry, the music industry funded. Why? So they can keep us distracted. Because through these same music, through this same industry is where we are degrading our own people. And that's what these people want. While they are planning and planning the next step, we out there shaking our rumpus. That's what we do. We out there partying while these people are strategizing the next step that they have to take to destroy us. So what they do, they fund us, give us the money. Give us the money. And as soon as we talk, what they do, they try to take the money away because they're the one that is giving it. Just keep giving them money. They're going to keep partying while we sit down at the round table. Right? Let's go back. Let's go to, hold on. Just read the article. You can see this?
Yeah.
Okay. Just read it right here from the article, not the overview.
Can you enlarge it a little bit?
I don't. Okay, wow, I can.
You are a genius.
I know that, man. I can. I can.
All right,
All
this
right.
is good. Move your mouse to.
The house of the Rothschild family. Go ahead.
The house of the Rothschild erects here. Okay, starting too high. The Rothschild family, German, is a wealthy, noble banking family originally from Frankfurt that rose to prominence with Mayor Amschel Rothschild.
Okay, so hold on. So up here, he said the Rothschild family, Germanic, is a wealthy Ashkenazi Jewish noble banking family. You hear that? The Ashkenazi Jewish noble banking family. So the people over there, yes, they descend from Ashkenaz. They are Ashkenazi Jews. But we have some so-called Jewish rabbis. They will try to tell you, oh no, the people, they're not Ashkenazi Jews. That's just a term. No, it's a lie. They're telling you that because they don't want you to know that these people who are calling themselves the Jews, they descend from Ashkenaz. Right? That's why they call them Ashkenazi Jews. Right? So again, it said the Rothschilds family, the Germanic, and is a wealthy Ashkenazi Jewish noble banking family. Go ahead.
Originally from Frankfurt that rose to prominence with Mayor Amschel Rothschild, a court factor to the German Landgraves of Hesse-Kassel in the Free City of Frankfurt, Holy Roman Empire, who established his banking business in the 1760s.
And they attached to who to? The Roman Empire. Right? Go ahead.
Unlike most previous court factors, Rothschild managed to bequeath his wealth and established an international banking family through his 5 sons, who
Mm-hmm.
established businesses in London, Paris, Frankfurt, Vienna, and Naples.
Mm-hmm.
The family was elevated to noble rank in the Holy Roman Empire and the United Kingdom.
Whoa. They was elevated to noble ranks in where?
The Holy Roman Empire and the
In,
United Kingdom.
in the Holy Roman Empire and the United Kingdom. So you see, they're attached to the Romans, them too. Go ahead.
The family's documented history starts in the 16th century Frankfurt. Its name is derived from the family house, Rothschild, built by Isaac Elkanan Bacharach in Frankfurt in 1567.
Mm-hmm.
During the 19th century, the Rothschild family possessed the largest private fortune in the world, as well as in modern world history.
Whoa. So during the 19th century, the Rothschilds family possessed the largest private fortune in the world, brothers and sisters, as well as in modern world history. That's what I'm saying, brothers and sisters. Who owns the money runs the world. These also are the shadow government. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, they are the shadow government. They're the one that sits at the round table and decides what's going to happen to me and you. Because they're the one running things. As again, they're the one running Hollywood. They're the one that run the rap industry. They're the one that running the whole world. Why do you think the Pope has so much power? People don't realize how much power this man has. The Pope them. They don't realize that. Go ahead.
The family's wealth declined over the 20th century and was divided among many descendants.
Mm-hmm.
Today, their interests cover a diverse range of fields, including financial services, real estate, mining, energy, agriculture, winemaking, and nonprofits. Many examples of the family's rural architecture exist across the northwestern Europe. The Rothschild family has frequently been the subject of conspiracy theories, many of which have anti-Semitic origins.
I tell you, when people mention anything about they're the real people, especially when the black Hebrew Israelite, when they mention anything of them being the people of God, then you are labeled as an anti-Semitic because they want to keep us silent. They don't want us to know who we are, right? But they are the one, brothers and sisters, who are running the world. So now, if they're running the world, these people who are supposed to be the people of God, according to the Bible or the scriptures, will they be running the world? Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy 28. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28. Will they be running the world? Are they supposed to be running the world? No. God don't care about that. He wants us, Israel, to come to him, and then he will give us what we need. But our interest is trying to run the world. That's not his interest, because right now we know that this world is going to be run by the Gentiles until the Messiah returns. And no one can change that prophecy, because prophecy have to play out. They have to play out. Deuteronomy 28, we're going to read verse 32, we're going to read 37, we're going to read 41, then we'll read 43 to 48, and then 63 to 66. Deuteronomy 28, and we're going to read at verse 32. We're going to start at 32. The reason why is for time's sake. Deuteronomy 28, verse 32. When you get it, sis? I'm ready when you're ready.
You will watch as your sons and daughters are taken away as slaves. Your heart will break for them, but you won't be able to help them.
So we will watch as our sons and daughters are taken away as slaves. Your heart will break for them, but you won't be able to help them. 37.
You will become an object of horror, ridicule, mockery among all the nations to which the Lord sends you.
And all you have to do, brothers and sisters, is just look around. All you have to do is look around. These prophecies are not hard to spot when they are placed on the right people. It's not hard to spot. You will become an object of horror, ridicule, and mockery among the nations which the Lord sends you. Verse 41.
You will have sons and daughters, but you will lose them, for they will be led away into captivity.
You will have sons and daughters, but you will lose them, for they will go into slavery. Did these people come over here on a mass in slave ships? Did they come over here in the bottom of cargo ships like produce? No, they did not. So how aren't they supposed to be fulfilling the prophecy? So if they're supposed to be fulfilling the prophecy, why are they breaking protocol? Why are they breaking the prophecy? This didn't happen to them. Not only that, most of the ships them that brought the so-called Africans across those seas were owned by these people. So what they did, they owned the ships that brought their people into slavery? That doesn't make sense. Most of the ships were owned by them. Because if you're claiming to be someone, then you have to try to get rid of the real culprit. You have to try to get rid of the real one if you're trying to mimic someone else. So what they did, they assume our identity and then they call us Africans. You see what they did? This is the first identity theft. They stole the identity of a whole nation of people. This is where identity theft come from. So now we have into the modern world, they're talking about identity theft. They're the one that invented it. They stole the identity of a whole nation of people. So what they did, they took on the identity of the true, real Jews, and then they put them in slavery and call them Africans. Verse 43.
The foreigners living among you will become stronger and stronger, while you become weaker and weaker.
While we become what? Weaker and weaker. Everybody will excel over the people, the real Israelites. Everybody will excel over them. Go ahead.
They will lend money to you, but you will not lend to them. They will be the head and you will be the tail.
They will lend money to you, but you will not lend to them. Everything that Israel, the real Jews, everything that they want, they have to go to someone else that don't look like them to get it. They have to go to another nation to get it. They go to another nation for hair, to put hair on the head, wigs, do their nails, do their lawn, everything, their lumber, their food, everything that they want, they have to go to someone else that don't look like them to get it. Because we know Israel, the true Israel now, become the borrower and not the lender. They become the tail and not the head. Who does this prophecy fit, brothers and sisters? It only fits one people. It only fits one people. It can't be them because they're the one that is running the world. So this prophecy have nothing to do with them. So it have in Deuteronomy 28 from verse 1 to verse 15 talks about the blessing. And from 16 to 68 talks about the curse. So why is it that the They took half of it. They only hold on to the blessings. So what happened to the curse? It goes together. Because the Bible tells you in verse 15, it will come, the time will come when they will not hearken unto the voice of the Lord. Therefore, the curse will be poured upon them. Where's the curse that is poured upon them? How come they're not showing it? Go ahead.
45. If you refuse to listen to the Lord your God and to obey the commands and decrees he has given you, all these curses will pursue and overtake you until you are destroyed.
And all you got to do is turn the news on. Turn the telly on. The telly, some people call it telly, the live vision. Just turn it on. Go ahead.
These horrors will serve as a sign and warning among you and your descendants forever.
These horrors will be served as a sign and a warning among you and your descendants for how long? Forever. No matter where we go, these signs follow us. That's how you can put your finger on Israel. Everywhere you go in the world, all you got to do is look for the people that are suffering. And you say, yep, there go Israel. That's all you got to do. Follow the signs. Follow the yellow brick road. And you'll put your hand on Israel. Yep, there go Israel over there, man. Go ahead.
If you do not serve the Lord your God with joy and enthusiasm for the abundant benefits you have received, you will serve your enemies whom the Lord will send against you. You'll be left hungry, thirsty, naked, and lacking in everything. The Lord will put an iron yoke on your neck, oppressing you harshly until he has destroyed you.
Who will put an iron yoke on your neck? The Lord will put an iron yoke on your necks. But who used to do that? The enemy. Until he destroy you. He said what? You will be left hungry, thirsty, naked, and lacking in everything. That's why I said earlier, brothers and sisters, everything that we want, we have to go to another people to get it. Because we owns nothing. We ain't running nothing but our mouth. Go ahead.
63. Just as the Lord has found great pleasure in causing you to prosper and multiply, the Lord will find pleasure in destroying you. You'll be torn from the land you are about to enter and occupy.
Wow. Just as the Lord has found great pleasure in causing you to prosper and multiply, that's when we're doing what he tells us. The Lord will find pleasure in destroying you, and you will be torn from the land. That's the land over there. The land Israel. Will be torn away from it and be cast into the four corners of the earth. Go ahead.
For the Lord will scatter you among all the nations from one end of the earth to the other. There you will worship foreign gods that neither you nor your ancestors have known, gods made of wood and stone.
So we have the stone religion and we have the wood religion. We have stone religion out here, we have wood religion, and that's where all of us is hemmed up in. Not all, most of God's people is hemmed up in these wood and stone religions, right? So the Lord will scatter you among all the nations from one end of the earth to another. So the people who are calling themselves the Jews, were they scattered in the four corners by the means of slavery? No, brothers and sisters, they were not. Not only that, if the Israelites were in Egypt in bondage for over 400 years, so we know that the original inhabitants of Egypt were melanated people, right? The Egyptian, when you look at the tombs and the pyramid walls, you see the artwork because nations always leave their writings on the wall, right? Unless the other people come and destroy it. But they always leave their writings on the wall. So when you look at the pyramid wall, because these things are preserved, you see all the Egyptian them as black Nubian people, black Kemetic people. So you want to tell me a black race of people, which is the Egyptian, had a nation of white people in slavery for over 400 years, which history book do you find that? Which history book? Which geological book? Which science book? You see that a nation of black people had a nation of white people in slavery for over 400 years. Brothers and sisters, this has never happened in the history of the world. It has never happened in the history of the world. Those Egyptian people were subjugating people the same color as themselves. That's why Joseph was mistaken for an Egyptian. That's why Moses was mistaken for an Egyptian. That's why Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian. So if Moses, Joseph, Paul are the same color like these Egyptian people, well, then what color were they? So the black race was subjugating another black race in slavery for over 400 years. Nowhere in history, nowhere in no book, you see that a nation of black people has subjugated and enslaved a nation of white people for over 400 years. You can't find that in no book. Go ahead.
65. There among those nations you will find no peace or place to rest, and the Lord will cause your heart to tremble, your eyesight to fail, and your soul to despair. Your
Among
life,
these nations, we'll find no ease. When you leave your house, you don't know if you're going to return back home. You don't know if a police is going to pull you out of your car, put you on the ground, and put a bullet inside of you. You have no guarantee to reach back home to your family. One time I heard a police, he didn't realize that the recorder that he had was on, and he pulled over a white girl, right? A white girl. And when he went up to the car, he was telling the white girl, get out. The white girl said, no, I'm not getting out. I don't want to get shot. And the police, he was a white, he was a Gentile. He said, again, he didn't realize the recorder was on. He said, you're not black, you're white. We only do that to black people. Whoa. He got caught on tape saying this. So when Israel leave their home, they have no guarantee to reach back home alive. Some racist police or something might pull you out of your car, put you on the ground, put their foot in your neck, and you're most likely to die. You're most likely to die. So this curse that the Most High God put on his people, this thing is worldwide. It's worldwide. Go ahead, sis.
your life will constantly hang in the balance. You will live night and day in fear, unsure if you will survive.
Hear that? Your life will hang in a balance and you will live night and day in fear, unsure if you will survive. So this prophecy that is bring down on Israel is playing out. Is playing out. So some people say, well, that only happened to some of them. Okay, let's see if the whole nation of Israel, this was prophesied against. Let's go to Daniel chapter 9. Daniel chapter 9. And we're going to read from verse 9 to verse 14. Daniel chapter 9, and we're going to read from verse 9 to verse 14. Daniel 9, 9 to 14. You get it, sis? I'm ready when you're ready.
But the Lord our God is merciful and forgiving, even though we have rebelled against him.
Mm-hmm.
We have not obeyed the Lord our God, for we have not followed the instructions he gave us through his servants, the prophets.
So we said we have not obeyed. Remember, keep this in mind. What did we just read? We just read the book Deuteronomy 28. This is the blessings and the curse that Moses brought down in the book of Deuteronomy, right? The book of the law that's come out of the laws of Moses, Deuteronomy 28. So listen what we are reading here. So verse 10 says, we have not obeyed the Lord our God. We have not followed his instruction. He gave us through his servants and the prophets. Go ahead.
All Israel has disobeyed your instruction and turned away, refusing to listen to your voice. So now the solemn curses and judgments written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, have been poured down on us because of our sin.
So you hear that now? So now it says all Israel. When you read in the King James, it's saying the same thing. All Israel has transgressed thy law, even by departing that they might not obey. Therefore, the curse that is written in the laws of Moses have been poured out on them. On who? Not one, on all Israel. All Israel. Prior to Christ coming in the flesh, 9 tribes went into captivity by the Assyrians. After Christ, 70 AD, they came in and took down the rest of them. Took down the rest of them. The last king was Hoshea. That was the last king of Israel. When they took them into captivity, Jerusalem was burned to the ground. Burned to the ground. So he said the curse is poured upon all of Israel. That's what he says, all of Israel. That's why when you go into any part of the world, it's so easy for you to put your hand on Israel. All you got to do is go and look for the slum. Go and look for the ghetto. Go look for the ghetto. And you put your hand on Israel. Look for the ones them who are suffering. And you put your hand on Israel. Is this happening to the people who are calling themselves the Jews? No, it's not. So how can this prophecy be against them? How can this prophecy fit them? This don't fit. And like what it says in that box, that man that they say killed that girl. If it don't fit, you must acquit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit. It doesn't fit them, brothers and sisters. Go ahead, sis.
12. You have kept your word and done to us and our rulers exactly as you warned. Never has there been such a disaster as happened in Jerusalem.
Never. Go ahead.
Every curse written against us in the law of Moses has come true. Yet we have refused to seek mercy from the Lord our God by turning from our sins and recognizing his truth. Therefore, the Lord has brought upon us the disaster he prepared. The Lord our God was right to do all these things, for we did not obey him.
And he was right. I always tell people, brothers and sisters, me, I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve to be here. Why? Because I was wicked. I was wicked. I don't deserve to be here. I thank God that he preserved my life, but I was wicked. I don't deserve the mercy that he gave me, but I thank him for it. It says, every curse written against us in the laws of Moses has come true. Yet we have refused to seek mercy from our Lord our God by turning from our sins and recognizing his truth. Therefore, the Lord has brought upon us a disaster he prepared. The Lord our God was right to do all of these things. Yes, he was. For we did not obey him. So we see, brothers and sisters, that all Israel is under that curse. Even some people you might see out there and they seem like they're prospering, but we have to find out what is these people doing that it seems in our eyes that they're prospering. These people are worshiping Baal. They're worshiping Baphomet. So in the regular people's eyes who don't know the scripture, they will say, man, these people are prospering. But look at what they're doing to prosper. Look at what they're doing to be rich. That's why the Most High said in the scripture, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter in the kingdom of God. Why? Because rich people run down money. That's their God. That's their God. They run down money. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 10, and we're going to read from 6 to 20. So now we read earlier about the children of Japheth, that they settled in Europe. They are the Slavic people. They are also part of the Roman Empire. They're the Slavic people. So let's go and seek Ham, the Hamitic people. Genesis chapter 10, and we're going to read from 6 to 20. When you get it, I'm ready when you're ready.
The descendants of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. The
Mhm.
descendants of Cush were Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Raamah, and Sabteka. The descendants of Raamah were Sheba and Dedan.
Mhm.
Cush was also the ancestor of Nimrod, who was the first heroic warrior on earth.
So
Since
the descendants of Ham were Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan. So, brothers and sisters, Cush is the progenitor or the father of the Ethiopian race. Mizraim is the father or the progenitor of the Egyptian race. Put is the father or the progenitor of the Libyans. And Canaan was the original inhabitor of the land of Canaan, which is Jerusalem, right? Canaan was the original inhabitor of that land. And he was in there with his 7 descendants, the Girgasite, these 7 nations that God took out of that land to give that land to Abraham and his descendants, right? So from Ham, Noah's son, is where we get the African people, right? Those are the Hamitic people. Those are Hamites, right? Go ahead, sis.
9. Since he was the greatest hunter in the world, his name became proverbial. People would say, "This man is like Nimrod, the greatest hunter in the world."
Mm-hmm.
He built his kingdom in the land of Babylonia with the cities of Babylon, Erech, Akkad, Calneh. From there, he expanded his territory to Assyria, building the
Mm-hmm.
cities of Nineveh, Rehoboth, Rehoboth, Calais.
Mm-hmm. So Nimrod built the city of Nineveh. That's the same place that the Most High sent Jonah to preach to the people in Nineveh, and Jonah didn't want to go. Why Jonah didn't want to go down there? Because Jonah wanted God to destroy them, right? So when God sent Jonah to Nineveh, he didn't want to go. He was going the other way. That's why he ended up in a boat going the different direction, and we know the what happened with him. He got the ship started going berserk on the waters. And they start saying, man, why is this happening? And it was because of Jonah. Jonah wasn't doing what the Most High tell him. So eventually they threw him overboard. They say he was swallowed by a whale. He was in the whale belly for 3 days and 3 nights. And then after 3 nights, the third day, the whale spit him up. And they said the trip from where Jonah was to Nineveh was maybe like a 3 days or something journey. And they said within maybe a day and a half, Jonah was entering into Nineveh. So what was Jonah doing? How we get down there so fast? Because when he came or when the whale spit him up, Jonah probably took off like a jet plane. So, because he saw that the Lord was not playing, but he didn't want to go down there. He wanted them to be destroyed. So this is one of the cities that Nimrod actually built, Nineveh. Go ahead.
12. And Rezin, the great city located between Nineveh and Calah. Mizraim was the ancestor of the Ludites, Anamites, Leabites, Nephtalites,
Mm-hmm.
Pathrusites, Kazlahites, and Kaphtorites, from the Philistine came, from whom the Philistine came.
Mm-hmm.
Canaan's oldest son was Sidon, the ancestor of the Sidonians. Canaan
Mm-hmm.
was also the ancestor of the Hittites.
So the Hittites, that's one of the nation that was in Jerusalem. Go read the other ones.
Jebusites, Amorites, Girgashites, Hivites, Arkites, Sinites, Arvadites, Zamaratites, and Hamathites. The
Those were
Canaanites'
in
clans eventually spread out.
uh-huh. So they were the one that was occupying the land of Jerusalem, and those were the nation that God took out of that land to give it to Abraham and his descendants, right? Who became the children of Israel. Go ahead.
And the territory of Canaan extended from Sidon in the north to Gerar and Gaza in the south, and
Mhm.
east as far as Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim near Lasha.
So they owned it, all that city, and even down at Sodom and Gomorrah, and God took that land from them also. So even like the land Jericho, God took that land because now he gave the descendants of Abraham from the borders of Egypt all the way down to the borders of the Red Sea. And then the east side of Jordan, all of that is their territory. So a lot of people will say, well, Jerusalem is too small to hold all of the Israelites. That's Jerusalem is not the only land. From the borders of Egypt, go all the way down. And on the other side, the east side of Jordan, Jericho, Sodom and Gomorrah, all the plains of Sodom and Gomorrah. That's not only Jerusalem. But why do they say that? They say that because they refuse to believe that Jerusalem is the place. They refuse to believe that. So that's why they will come up with all of these naysayings. Go ahead.
These were the descendants of Ham, identified by clan, language, territory, and national identity.
So we read about the descendants of Ham, right? And where their territory was. Now let's go and run down Abraham's descendants, which came from the sons of Shem. Let's go to Genesis chapter 11. And we're going to read from verse 10 to verse 32.
This is the account of Shem's family. 2 years after the great flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad. After the birth of Arphaxad, Shem lived another 500 years and had other sons and daughters. When Arphaxad was 35 years old, he became the father of Shelah. After the birth of Shelah, Arphaxad lived another 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah was 30 years old, he became the father of Eber. After the birth of Eber, Shelah lived another 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber was 34 years old, he became the father of Peleg. After the birth of Peleg, Eber lived another 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg was 30 years old, he became the father of Reu. After the birth of Reu, Peleg lived another 209 years and had other sons and daughters.
You see how long people was living back then, brothers and sisters? Now, people hardly living 50 years old. You know how much people die before they reach the age of 50 today? But back then, people were living 100 and something, 200 and something, 500 and something. Look at Methuselah, 969 years old. Even animals was living long back then. They had a research, they found some animals, like the squirrels, and they measured the bone and the skeletal structure of these animals, and they were like 3 times the size of the ones that we have now. The same animal. That's because animals back then was living. Now, a dog, when you live, a dog live maybe like 15 human years, the dog looking to die. Life has been shortened so much, and all of this is because of sin. All of it is because of sin. Go ahead, sis.
20. When Reu was 30 years old, he became the father of Serug. After the birth of Serug, Reu lived another 207 years and had other sons and daughters. When Serug was 30 years old, he became the father of Nahor. After the birth of Nahor, Serug lived another 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor was 29 years old, he became the father of Terah. After the birth of Terah, Nerah lived another 119 years old and had other sons and daughters. After Terah was 70 years old, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran.
So here, brothers and sisters, after Terah was 70 years old, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. So now we're seeing that this same Abram is the same one that became Abraham, meaning father of many, right? So according to the Bible, Abraham is a descendant of Shem. According to the Bible, the people who call themselves the Jews today, or the Jewish people today, are the descendants of Japheth. So brothers and sisters, that's a big discrepancy. Something don't fit. How can that be? If they're Ashkenazi Jews and they came from Japhet, Abraham came from a whole different son. He came from Shem. So that's why they say, NASA, something is wrong. They cannot be the people of the book. They can't be the people of the book because the book is saying something different. The book is saying that the descendants of Shem are the people who are supposed to be there. Well, we're not supposed to be there because we're not going to go back until the Most High returns. But that land belongs to them, the descendants of Shem, not the descendants of Japheth. But we read earlier that Japheth are going to dwell in the tents of Shem. Did we not read that? Japheth will dwell in the tents of Shem. So who is in tents house right now? Japheth. They are the one that is in our home. Go ahead, sis.
27. This is the account of Terah's family. Terah was the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran was the father of Lot. But Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans, the land of his birth, while his father Terah was still living.
So Haran died, which is Abraham's brother, which is Lot's father, and Abraham took Lot under his wings and raised him as a son, which is actually his nephew, right? That's the same Lot that actually ended up in Sodom and Gomorrah that was living there. That's the same Lot that his two daughters drunk them off and had their way with him, and they become the descendants of the Moabites and the Ammonites, right? So Haran died in the Ur of the Chaldees, their birthplace, right? Go ahead.
Meanwhile, Abraham and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. Milcah and her sister Iscah were daughters of Nahor's brother Haran. But Sarai was unable to become pregnant and had no children.
So Sarai is the same woman that becomes Sarah, right? God changed her name from Sarai to Sarah, right? Go ahead.
One day, Terah took his son Abraham, his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Abram's wife, and his grandson Lot, his son Haran's child, and moved away from Ur to the Chaldeans. He was headed for the land of Canaan, but they stopped at Haran and settled there. Terah lived for 205 years and died while in Haran.
So now they took their family and they headed for the land of Canaan or the land of Canaan. Why? Because God came to Abraham, gave him a vision, and tell him, I want you to pack up your stuff, take your family, and you're going to leave, and you're going to go to a land that I am going to give you and your descendants, right? Which is the land of Canaan, which is present-day Israel. That's why the children of Jacob is called Israelites. Remember, the land is named after the people, right? So if the land is named after the people, if these people, they don't call themselves Israelite, they call themselves the Jewish people. So where is the land called the Jewish land? It's no land called the Jewish land. It's called Israel. So aren't they supposed to be called Israelites? Yes. So this is the Zandervan Illustrated Bible Dictionary here on the screen. This is about Ham, right? Remember I told you that them nations, when they live in the place, they always leave literature. They always leave pictures, drawing, right? So this is the Bible, the Zandervan Illustrated Bible Dictionary concerning Ham, one of Noah's sons. Read that, sis.
Ham, perhaps Hat, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites.
But no, Ham, this is from the Zandervan Bible Dictionary. It says, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and became the eighth person, and he was one of the 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor or the father of the dark races. But listen what it says, but not the Negroes. So, wow. So we have people saying that we, the African American, the people from the islands, Jamaican, Antiguan, Virgin Island, Bahamas, they came from Ham. But we're reading here, brothers and sisters. Ham is the father of the dark races, but not the Negroes. But who is he the progenitor of? The Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites. Those are his 4 sons, not the Negroes. We came from Shem. Not only that, the Hamites did not go into captivity in mass. As a matter of fact, the Hamites was catching the Shemites and selling them to the Europeans. The Hamites was catching the Israelites or the Shemites and selling them to the European. Why? Because they know that those are not their people. They wasn't catching the only. So you will hear people say on like on YouTube and stuff like oh, the Africans was catching Africans and selling them to the white man. No, the Africans was catching Israelites and selling them to the white man. They wasn't catching their own people. Because every nation know who we are. We are the only people that don't know who we are. Everybody know where they're from. You ask an African where they're from, they can tell you the tribe, they can tell you the genealogy, the ancestors, they can tell you what tribe they're from in Africa. But when you ask Israel where they're from, oh, I'm from Antigua, oh, I'm from Jamaica, oh, I'm from New York. We're the only people that don't know where we're from. Everybody have their birthplace. Everybody know where they come from, except our people. Why? Because we were the people going in and out of slavery. So we lost our God, we lost our names, we lost our heritage, we lost our nationality. We don't know who we are. Why these people didn't lose theirs? Because they were not the one going in and out of slavery. So they kept theirs. Israel lost theirs because every nation they go amongst, they whip another identity into them. Every nation they go amongst, they whip another identity into them. That's why we are called by bywords and proverbs. We got so much names on us. It's a shame. Let's go to Genesis chapter 12. Genesis chapter 12, I'm going to read from verse 1 to verse 6. When you get it, I'm ready when you're ready.
The Lord had said to Abram, leave your native country, your relatives, and your father's family, and go to the land that I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you famous, and you will be a blessing to others.
Mm-hmm.
I will bless those who bless you, and curse those who treat you with contempt.
Mm-hmm.
All the families on earth will be blessed through you.
Mm-hmm.
So Abram departed as the Lord had instructed, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he left Haran.
Mm-hmm.
He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, and all his wealth, his livestock, and all the people he had taken into his household at Haran, and headed for the land of Canaan. When they arrived in Canaan, Abram traveled through the land as far as Shechem. There he set up camp beside the oak of Moreh. At that time, the area was inhabited by Canaanites.
So this same Shechem is one of the cities where Simeon and Levi slew these men that were circumcised when they actually raped his sister Dinah, right? Go ahead. Oh, that's it. So God told Abraham, take up your stuff and leave your land, leave your native land, and I'm going to lead you to a place, this place called Canaan, and I'm going to give this land to you and your descendants. Right? So Abraham obeyed the voice of the Most High, obeyed his command, and that's exactly what he did. Right? He left on the journey, and that's actually what the word Hebrew means. Hebrew means a sojourner. That's where Abraham got the name from, a sojourner, right? Let's go to Genesis 15. And we're going to read from verse 1 to verse 8. Genesis 15, verse 1 to verse 8. When you get it, I'm ready when you're ready.
Sometime later, the Lord spake to Abram in a vision and said to him, Do not be afraid, Abram. I will protect you, and your reward will be great.
Mhm.
But Abram replied, O sovereign Lord, what good are all your blessings when I don't even have a son? Since you've given me no children, Eleazar of Damascus, a servant in my household, will inherit all my wealth.
So listen to the conversation between Abraham and the Most High, right? So Abraham is saying, hey, what good is all this blessing and I don't even have an ear? So, but I have this servant Eliezer, give him the blessing. What did the Most High tell him? Go ahead.
You have given me no descendants of my son, so one of my servants will be my heir.
You're giving me no descendants of my own. So one of my servants will be my heir. What did the Most High tell him? Go ahead.
Then the Lord said to him, No, your servant will not be your heir, for you will have a son of your own, who will be your heir.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Lord took Abram outside and said to him, Look up into the sky and count the stars if you can. That's
Mm-hmm.
how many descendants you will have.
That's why Abraham got the name, right? Abraham means the father of many. Father Abraham had many sons had father Abraham. Go ahead.
And Abram believed the Lord, and the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith.
Mm-hmm.
Then the Lord told him, I am the Lord who brought you out of of the Chaldeans, to give you this land as your possession.
Mm-hmm.
But Abram replied, O sovereign Lord, how can I be sure that I will actually possess it?
Wow. So God say, I'm going to give you this land to possess it. But when did we actually get this land? We didn't actually get this land as a whole or the deed to the land until we came out of Egypt as a nation. Because when we went into Egypt, we went in there as guests to Pharaoh and we came out as a nation. So in Egypt is where Israel became a nation, right?
As the
Um,
sun was going,
Go ahead.
ready? As the
Mm-hmm.
sun was going down, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a terrifying darkness came down over him. Then the Lord said to Abram, You can be sure that your descendants will be strangers in a foreign land, where they will be oppressed as slaves for 400 years.
But this is talking about Egypt. But I hear a lot of people saying that this is talking about America. This cannot be talking about America. Because according to the timeline, when we came to America, the 400 years is been up already. And it says when this 400 years is up, we're going to come back to the land which is Canaan. We are still here. We ain't gone nowhere yet. And we're still being oppressed. We're still being oppressed. So this 400 years could not be talking about over here. This is talking about in Egypt. And how can it be talking about here in the first place? Because what we're going to do, skip over the prophecy of Egypt and come all the way to America? Egypt prophecy have to be fulfilled first before you come over here, right? Go ahead.
14. But I will punish the nation that enslaves them, and in the end they will come away with great wealth.
So hold on. He will punish the what? The nation singular. Singular. Nation. I will punish the nation singular that enslaved them over here on this side of the sea. in the Western Hemisphere. We are punished by nations. Everybody oppress us over here. We are under the foot of every nations over here. So this nation, singular, is talking about the land of Egypt. Right? Go ahead.
15. As for you, you will die in peace and be buried at a ripe old age.
So when Abraham died? Not over here in America. Go ahead.
After 4 generations, your descendants will return here to this land, for the sins of the Amorites do not yet warrant their destruction.
So now it says in the 4th generation, the ancestor will return to this land. Did we return to the land? Yes, we did. They came out of Egypt, went into the wilderness. They get weeded out in the wilderness. All of the adults, God killed them except Joshua and Caleb, and all the young one under the age of 20 went into the land. So they did go back to the land. That was the prophecy. Right? Go ahead. And they did come out of Egypt with great wealth. The Bible said, we spoiled the Egyptian, we robbed them. They came out with great substance. Go ahead.
After the sun went down and darkness fell, Abram saw a smoking firepot and a flaming torch pass between the halves of the carcasses.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord made a covenant with Abram that day and said, I have given this land to your descendants all the way from the border of Egypt to the great Euphrates River.
You hear that? I have given this land for your descendants as an inheritance, all the way from the borders of Egypt up down to the great river Euphrates, and even on the east side of Jordan. Jericho, the plains of Mamre, all that land they inherited, because when they came out of Egypt, Moses then was taking down nations. They was taking down nations, and every nation they take down, they was inhabiting the land. They was taking the land, right? They were taking the land and dividing up the land, right? Let's go to the book of 16. Let's go into 16. Now we're going to read from 1 to 16. This is the birth of Ishmael, Abraham's first son.
1. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had not been able to bear children for him, but she had an Egyptian servant named Hagar.
Mm-hmm.
So Sarai said to Abram, the Lord has prevented me from having children. Go and sleep with my servant. Perhaps I can have children through her. And
Mm-hmm.
Abram agreed with Sarai's proposal.
I know, I would agree too. But this was a sad mistake. But hey, there's no such thing as a mistake anyway. Everything happened the way it's supposed to happen. Right? Go ahead. But I know
So
Abraham was.
Sarai, so
Go ahead.
Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, the Egyptian servant, and gave her to Abram as a wife. This
Mm-hmm.
happened 10 years after Abram had settled in the land of Canaan.
Uh-huh.
So Abram had sexual relations with Hagar, and she became pregnant. But when Hagar knew she was pregnant, she began to treat her mistress Sarai with contempt.
Wow. Because now, why? Because now I make a child with your husband and you can't make none. Right? So she began to treat her mistress with contempt. Go ahead. So we're going to see what Sarah, her mistress, did. Go ahead.
And Sarai said to Abram, this is all your fault. I put my servant in your hands, but now that she's pregnant, she treats me with contempt. The Lord will show who's wrong, you or me.
Lord of mercy, Harry the judge. Did you hear what Sarah just said? What did we read earlier? Sarah tell Abraham to go and sleep with Hagar to make children for her. Then down here we reading Sarah is telling Abraham, this is all your fault.
His
What kind
response was wrong.
of huh? What kind of madness is this?
His response was wrong.
What kind of madness is this? Didn't we read that Sarah is the one that told Abraham, go and sleep with Hagar to make children for her? And now Sarah telling Abraham, this is all your fault. Go ahead.
Abram replied, look, She is your servant, so deal with her as you see fit. Then
Uh-huh.
Sarai treated Hagar so harshly that she finally ran away.
Wow. Sarai treated her so harshly that she ran away. Go ahead.
The angel of the Lord found Hagar beside a spring of water in the wilderness along the road to Shur.
Mm-hmm.
The angel said to her, Hagar, Sarai's servant, where have you come from, and where are
Mm-hmm.
you going?
Mm-hmm.
I'm running away from my mistress Sarai, she replied.
Uh-huh.
The angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit to her authority.
Uh-huh.
Then he added, I will give you more descendants than you can count.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord also said, you are now pregnant and will give birth to a son. You are to name him Ishmael, which means God hears, for the Lord has heard your cry of distress.
So Ishmael means what? God hears. That's what Ishmael means. God hears. Right? Go ahead.
This son of yours will be a wild man, as untamed as a wild donkey, who he will raise his fist against everyone, and everyone will be against him.
Mm-hmm.
Yet he will live in open hostility against all his relatives.
So now we're seeing that this prophecy is actually working even unto into this day. These people will strap bombs on them and run into buildings. This, he said, there will be wild people, and the hands will be against everyone, and every man hand will be against them. So these people are some wild people for real. Go ahead.
Thereafter, Hagar used another name to refer to the Lord who had
Mm-hmm.
spoken to her. She said, you are the God who sees me.
Mm-hmm.
She also said, have I truly seen the one who sees me?
So she gave him that name, the God who sees me. Go ahead.
So, so that well was named Beer Roya, which means Beer Roy, which means well of the living one who sees me.
Mm-hmm.
It can still be found between Kadesh and Bered.
So they said this well that the angel found her against, they renamed that well, or I don't know if he had a name before, but they named the well Beer, right? And it means the well of the living one that sees me. And they say it can still be found between Kadesh and Bereb, right? So Hagar, go ahead.
So Hagar gave Abram a son, and Abram named him Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Ishmael was born.
So Hagar gave Abraham his first son, and they named him Ishmael, right? Ishmael. And I guess it means the God who sees me, or something like that, right? So, oh, God hears. Let's go into 6:17, Genesis 17, and we're going to read 1 to 11. This is one of the first covenant that God gave to Abraham. One of the first covenant God gave to Abraham. Let's see what this covenant is. Let's go ahead.
When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, I am El Shaddai, God Almighty. Serve me faithfully and live a blameless life.
So God appeared to him and said, I am El Shaddai, God Almighty. Right? Go ahead.
I will make a covenant with you by which I will guarantee to give you countless descendants.
Mm-hmm.
At this, Abram fell face down on the ground. Then God said to him, this is my covenant with you. I will make you the father of a multitude of nations.
Mm-hmm.
What's more, I am changing your name. I will It will no longer be Abram. Instead, you will be called Abraham, for you will be the father of many nations.
So God changed Abraham's name to Abraham, meaning the father of many, right? Go ahead, of many nations. Go ahead.
I will make you extremely fruitful. Your descendants will become many nations, and kings will be among them.
Mm-hmm.
I will confirm my covenant with you and your descendants after you, your generation to generation, after you from generation to generation. This is
Mm-hmm.
the everlasting covenant. I will always be your God and the God of your descendants after you.
Mm-hmm.
And I will give you the entire land of Canaan, where you now live as a foreigner, to you and your descendants. It will be your possession forever, and I will be their God.
Go ahead.
Then God said to Abraham, your responsibility is to obey the terms of the covenant. You and all your descendants have this continual responsibility.
Wow. It
The
said you
covenant,
now obey the what I say?
it
You
says,
will-
your responsibility is to obey the terms of the covenant.
All
You
right.
and all your descendants have this continual responsibility.
You and all your descendants have this continual responsibility. We want to see what this responsibility is. Go ahead.
This is the covenant that you and your descendants must keep. Each male among you must be circumcised.
No,
You
can be circumcised,
must be
must be circumcised. Go ahead.
You must cut off the flesh of your foreskin as a sign of the covenant between me and you.
Uh-huh. So, so that's a sign between them and God to know his people, right? Go ahead. 17. Jump down to 17.
Then Abram bowed down to the ground, but he laughed to himself in disbelief. How could I become a father at the age of 100, he thought. And how can Sarah have a baby when she is 90 years old?
So now
So,
Abraham doubted. Right there, he doubted. Right? Go ahead.
so Abraham said to God, may Ishmael live under your special blessing.
But what
But God
God is going to tell him. Go
God
ahead.
replied, no, Sarah, your wife, will give birth to a son for you. You will name him Isaac, and I will confirm my covenant with him and his descendants as an everlasting covenant.
Mm-hmm.
As for Ishmael, I will bless him also, but as just as you have asked, I will make him extremely fruitful and multiply his descendants. He will become the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation.
So Ishmael, he got 12 princes. Esau got what? 12 dukes. Right? Go ahead.
But my covenant will be confirmed with Isaac, who will be born to you and Sarah about this time next year.
Mm-hmm.
When God had finished speaking, he left Abraham. On that very day, Abraham took his son Ishmael and every male in his household, including those born there and those who he had bought. Then
Mm-hmm.
he circumcised them, cutting off their foreskins just as God had told
So
him.
everyone in his household, Abraham circumcised. Everyone, including his servants, them, circumcised all of them, just as God had asked him to do. Go ahead.
Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised, and Ishmael, his son, was 13.
Wow. Ishmael was 13 when he got circumcised, and Abraham was 99 years old when he got circumcised. I got circumcised when I was, well, back, I got circumcised in when? 20, probably 2011 or something like that. So I was a grown man getting circumcised, also getting snip, right?
But Abraham, it's 26, but Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised on that same day,
Mm-hmm.
along with all the other men and boys of the household, whether they were born there or bought as servants, all were circumcised with them.
All was circumcised with him, right? Let's go to Genesis 25 now. Genesis 25. And we're going to read verse 12 to verse 16. You
This
get
is
it?
the account of the family of Ishmael, the son of Abraham, through Hagar, Sarah's Egyptian servant.
Mm-hmm.
Here is a list by their names and clans of Ishmael's descendants.
Mm-hmm.
The oldest son was Nebaioth, followed
Mm-hmm.
by Kedar, Adbeel, Mitsam.
So Kedar is the father of who? The Arab nation. So Kedar is the father of the Arab nation, the Muslim people, right? Those are the one they call Kedar. Go ahead.
Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetor, Naphish, and Kedema.
Mm-hmm.
These 12 sons of Ishmael became the founders of 12 tribes named after them, listed according to the places they settled and camped.
Mm-hmm.
Am I going on?
Hold on there. No. So these were the descendants of Ishmael, and Kedar is the father of the Arab nation, right? The Muslim. So another thing to no. Let's go to Genesis 21. Genesis 21, and we'll read 1 to 17. We're going to Isaac.
All right. The Lord kept his word and did for Sarah exactly what he had promised.
Mm-hmm.
She became pregnant and she gave birth to a son for Abraham in his old age. This happened at just the time God had said it would.
Mm-hmm.
And Abraham named their son Isaac. 8 days after Isaac was born, Abraham circumcised him as God had commanded.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born.
So
And
now this 8 day circumcision has a serious meaning according to the Bible. The reason why God asked the men to be circumcised on the 8th day, because it has a couple meanings to the circumcision. One, when you circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, it represents the rolling back of the skin, the taking away of the skin, right? The reason why it's on the 8th day, because 8 represents new beginning. The number 8 represents new beginning. When we shed this flesh and blood body that we're in, we are going to get our celestial body. When we shed this flesh and blood body, we're going to get our celestial body. So the circumcision represents us shedding that foreskin, which represents our body, and it's new beginning. That's why it's done on the 8th day, because number 8 means new beginning. Number 7 means complete, right? Hope this was a blessing. Go ahead.
6, and Sarah declared, God has brought me laughter. All who hear about this will laugh with me.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse a baby?
Mm-hmm.
Yet I have given Abraham a son in his old age.
Go ahead.
When Isaac grew up and was about to be weaned, Abraham prepared a huge feast to celebrate the occasion. But Sarah saw Ishmael, the son of Abraham, and her Egyptian servant Hagar making fun of her son, Isaac. So she turned to Abraham and demanded, Get rid of that slave woman and her son. He is not going to share the inheritance with my son Isaac. I won't have it. This upset Abraham very much because Ishmael was his son.
Yeah.
But God told Abraham, Do not be upset over the boy and your servant. Do whatever Sarah tells you, for Isaac is the son through whom your descendants will be counted.
Right? So Isaac is the son of whom your descendant will be counted. And one of the reasons why God is saying that too, why? Because what Abraham and Sarah did, God was not in it, right? They went and they concocted this little thing on their own, saying Sarah told him to go sleep with Hagar. God was nowhere in there, right? So this is the reason why now he's feeling the backlash. Even though that's his son, God say, listen to your wife. Go ahead.
13. But I will also make a nation of the descendants of Hagar's son, because he is your son too. So
Exactly.
Abraham got up.
Go ahead.
So Abraham got up early the next morning, prepared food and a container of water, and strapped them on Hagar's shoulders. Then
Mm-hmm.
he sent her away with their son, and he wandered aimlessly in the wilderness of Beersheba.
So now God said, hey, you listen to her to go sleep with Hagar. So now listen to her is sending him away, sending she away. That's what we get. Go ahead, sis.
When the water was gone, she put the boy in the shade of a bush. Then she went and sat down by herself about 100 yards away. I don't want to watch the boy die, she said, as she burst into tears.
Mm-hmm.
But God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven, Hagar, what's wrong? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying as he lies there.
So God hear her crying, and God send the angel to intervene. Okay? So 21. Let's carry on. Let's go to 25. Genesis 25, and we'll read from 1 to 7. Let's go see about this blessing. Genesis 25. And we're going to read from verse 1 to verse 7. When you get it, you can go ahead.
All right. Abraham married another wife whose name was Keturah. She gave birth to Kimron, Jokshan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua.
So a lot of people didn't know Abraham and got remarried, when Sarah died. Right? Go ahead.
Joksha was the father of Sheba and Dedan. Dedan's descendants were the Asherites, Letushites, and Leomites. Midian's sons were Ephah, Epher, Hanak, Abida, and Eldah. These were all descendants of Abraham through Keturah. Abraham gave everything he owned to his son Isaac. But before he died, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them off to a land in the east away from Isaac. Abraham lived for 175 years.
I'll jump down to 19 now.
This is the account of the family of Isaac, the son of Abraham. When Isaac was 40 years old, he married Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, an Aramean from Padamaram, and the sister of Laban, an Aramean. Isaac pleaded with the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was unable to have children. The Lord answered Isaac's prayer, and Rebekah became pregnant with twins.
So what happened? What was the correlation between Isaac and his father Abraham? The both of them wife was both of them wife was barren, exactly. The both of them wife was barren, but Isaac did not do what his father did. What his father did, his father and the father wife concocted some crap. He went to sleep with him, but Isaac did not do that. What did he do? He went and confronted the Lord and asked the Lord if he can unstop his wife's womb. And that's exactly what the Lord did, right? Because he did not follow the same footstep where his father followed. Go ahead.
22. But the two children struggled with each other in her womb. So she went to ask the Lord about it. Why is this happening to me? She asked. And the Lord told her, the sons in your womb will become two nations. From the very beginning, the two nations will be rivals. One nation will be stronger than the other, and your oldest son will serve your youngest son.
So Esau will serve Jacob, right? Go ahead.
And when the time came to give birth, Rebekah discovered that she indeed had twins. The first one was very red at birth and covered with thick hair like a fur coat, so they named him Esau. Then the other twin was born with his hand grasping Esau's heels, so they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when the twins were born. As the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter. He was an outdoorsman, but Jacob had a quiet temperament, preferring to stay at home. Isaac loved Esau because he enjoyed eating the wild game Esau brought home, but Rebekah loved Jacob. One day, when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau arrived home from the wilderness, exhausted and hungry. Esau said to Jacob, I am starved. Give me some of that red stew. This is how Esau got his name. This is how Esau got his other name, Edom, which means red.
So Edom means red, right? Edom means red. Go ahead.
All right, Jacob replied, but trade me your rights as the firstborn son. Look, I'm dying of starvation, said Esau. What good is my birthright to me now?
So
But
now
Jacob's
Esau asked for some of the food that his brother was cooking. So his brother said, hey, if you want some of my food, give me your birthright. Sell me this day your birthright. Esau said, man, what good is my birthright if I drop dead? Should you think Esau really believed that Jacob really wanted his birthright? No. Who would believe that? Go ahead.
But Jacob said, first you must swear that your birthright is mine. So Esau swore an oath, thereby selling all his rights as a firstborn to his brother Jacob.
Mhm.
Jacob gave Esau some bread and lentils too. Esau ate the meal, then got up and left. He showed contempt for his rights as the firstborn.
So now we hear many times, well, I hear many times that this, people saying that Jacob stole the birthright, Esau's birthright. So what we are reading here, does this sound like stealing? No. Esau sold his birthright. They made a pact. That's what we're reading. We ain't reading here that he stole it. Esau gonna turn around and say he stole my birthright. But no, Esau, you're lying. You sold it for a bowl of food. A bowl of lentils, something that I love. Lentils. Let's go to 27, chapter 27. Jump over 2 chapters. Chapter 27, we're going to read 1 to 13.
One
You
day
get
when Isaac was old and turning blind, he called for Esau, his oldest son, and said, My
it?
son. Yes, father, Esau replied. I am an old man now, Isaac said, and I don't know when I may die.
Mhm,
Take your bow and a quiver full of arrows and go out into the open country to hunt some wild game for me.
mhm,
Prepare my favorite dish and bring it here for me to eat. Then I will pronounce the blessings that belongs to you, my
mhm,
firstborn son, before I die.
mhm,
But Rebekah overheard what Isaac had said to his son Esau. So when Esau left to hunt for the wild game, she said to her son Jacob, Listen, I overheard your father say to Esau, Bring me some wild game and prepare me a delicious meal. Then I will bless you in the Lord's presence before I die.
mhm.
Now, my son, listen to me. Do exactly as I tell you. Go out to the flocks and bring me 2 fine young goats. I'll use them to prepare your father's favorite dish. Then take the food to your father so he can eat it and bless you before he dies.
Oh, but remember, prior to Rebecca getting pregnant, the prophecy was what? The elder shall serve the
Yeah.
younger. Right? It was already prophesied before she was even pregnant. Go ahead.
But look, Jacob replied to Rebekah, My brother Esau is a hairy man, and my skin is smooth. But what if my father touches me? He'll see that I'm trying to trick him, and then he'll curse me instead of blessing me. But
Mhm,
his mother replied, Then let the curse fall on me, my son. Just do what I tell you. Go out and get the goats for me.
mhm,
So Jacob went out and got the young goats for his mother. Rebekah took them and prepared a delicious meal just the way Isaac liked it.
mhm,
Then she took Esau's favorite clothes, which were there in the house, and gave them to her son Jacob. She covered his arms and the smooth part of his neck with the skin of the young goats. Then she gave Jacob the delicious meal, including freshly baked bread. So Jacob took the food to his father. My father, he said. Yes, my son, Isaac answered. Who are
mhm,
you, Esau or Jacob? Jacob replied, It's Esau, your firstborn son. I have done as you told me. Here is the wild game. Now sit up and eat it so you can give me your blessings.
mhm,
Isaac asked, How did you find it so quickly, my son? The Lord your God put it in my path, Jacob replied. Then Isaac said to Jacob, Come closer so I can touch you and make sure you really are Esau.
mhm.
So Jacob went closer to his father, and Isaac touched him. The voice is Jacob's, but the hands are Esau's, Isaac said. But he did not recognize Jacob because Jacob's hands felt hairy just like Esau's. So Isaac prepared to bless Jacob.
Yeah, he was really, really blind, for real. So again, this was when Rebecca asked that God, if you bless me, open my womb so I can conceive. Why is this struggling going on here? And he said, 2 nations are in your womb. One will be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. Right? Go ahead.
But are you really my son? Are you really my son Esau? He asked. Yes, I am, Jacob replied. Then Isaac said, Now, my son, bring me the wild game. Let me eat it, and then I will give you my blessing. So Jacob
Mm-hmm.
took the food to his father, and Isaac ate it. He also drank the wine that Jacob served him. Then Isaac said to Jacob, Please come a little closer and kiss me, my son. So Jacob went over and kissed him. And when Isaac caught the smell of his clothes, he was finally convinced. And he blessed his son. He said, Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of the outdoors, which the Lord has blessed.
Mm-hmm.
From the dew of heaven and the riches of the earth, may God always give you abundant harvest of grain and bountiful new wine.
Mm-hmm.
May many nations become your servants, and may they bow down to you. May you be the master over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. All who curse you will be cursed, and all who bless you will be blessed.
But this was what Abraham had prophesied for Esau. But remember, he was giving it to not the son that he thought he was giving it to, right? But are we getting this blessing that he brought down Isaac pronounced? No, we're not getting it. We're supposed to get it, but are we getting it? No. No, we are not. Go ahead, sis.
As soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and almost before Jacob had left his father, Esau returned from his hunt. Esau prepared a delicious meal and brought it to his father. Then he said, Sit up, my father, and eat my wild game so you can give me your blessing.
Mm-hmm.
But Isaac asked him, Who are you? Esau replied, It's your son, your firstborn Esau. Isaac again began Isaac began to tremble uncontrollably and said, Then who just served me wild game? I have already eaten it and blessed him before you came. And yes, that blessing must stand.
The blessing must stand. I can't take it back. Go ahead. It's just like the same instant when the case with Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel when he put him in the lions den. And those his servants them tricked him and made him sign the decree that anybody that he caught worshiping another god or praying to another god, they were put in the lions den. And he didn't even know that they was trying to get Daniel hemmed up. So by them doing that, and when the king signed that, it's already signed. He can't take it back, even though he didn't want to put Daniel in there, but he couldn't take it back because he already put his seal on it. So it's the same thing here. Isaac is saying, I already gave your brother the blessing, and it stands. I can't take it back. You know what I mean? I guess that's where this thing come from. The man words is his bond. Your word is your bond. Right? Go ahead.
When Esau heard his father's words, he let out a loud and bitter cry. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
my father, what about me? Bless me too, he begged. But Isaac said, Your brother was here and he tricked me. He has taken away your blessing.
Wow.
Esau exclaimed, No wonder his name is Jacob, for now he has cheated me twice. First he took my rights as the firstborn, and now he has stolen my blessing. Oh, haven't you saved even one blessing for me?
So he didn't take his rights away from him being the firstborn. He sold it. He sold it to Jacob for food. Right? Go ahead.
Isaac said to Esau, I have made Jacob your master, and have declared that all his brothers will be his servants. I have guaranteed him an abundance of grain and wine. What is left for me to give you, my son?
Mm-hmm.
Esau replied, But do you have only one blessing? Oh, my father, bless me too. Then Esau broke down and wept.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, his father Isaac said to him, You will live away from the richness of the earth and away from the dew of the heaven above. You will live by your sword and you will serve your brother. But when you decide to break free, you will shake his yoke from your neck.
Mm-hmm.
From that time on, Esau hated Jacob because their father had given Jacob the blessing, and Esau began to scheme. I will soon be mourning my father's death, then I will kill my brother Jacob.
So hold on. So now it said from that time on, Esau hated his brother Jacob. So what Esau scheme up in his mind, when daddy die, I'm going to kill my brother Jacob. So now, how is he saying this in his mind? And Rebecca heard it. The angel had to have revealed it to her, right? How did Rebecca hear that something that is going on in his mind? Go ahead.
But Rebekah heard about Esau's plans, so she sent for Jacob and told him, Listen, Esau is consoling himself by plotting to kill you.
How did Rebecca hear this? If Esau was saying this in his mind, the Most High God had to have revealed it to her. Go ahead.
So listen carefully, my son. Get ready and flee to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay there with him until your brother cools off.
Mhm.
When he calms down and forgets what you have done to him, I will send for you to come back. Why should I lose both of you in one day? Then Rebekah said to Isaac, I'm sick and tired of these local Hittite women. I would rather die than see Jacob marry one of them.
She don't want her son to marry none of the Hittite women, those nation that was in the land of Canaan or Canaan. So he said, go to my brothers and take a wife from among them. Let's go to Genesis now 29. And we're going to read 1 to 15. Genesis 29.
Then Jacob hurried on, finally arriving in the land of the east. He saw a well in the distance. 3 flocks of sheep and goats lay in open field beside it, waiting to be watered, but a heavy stone covered the mouth of the well.
Mhm.
It was a custom there to wait for all the flocks to arrive before removing the stone and watering the animals. Afterward, the stone would be placed back over the mouth of the well. Jacob went over to the shepherds and asked, Where are you from, my friends? We are from Haran, they answered. Do you know a man here named Laban, the grandson of Nahor? He asked. Yes, we do, they replied. Is he doing well? Jacob asked. Yes, he's well, they answered. Look, here comes his daughter Rachel with the flock now. Jacob said, Look, it's still broad daylight, too early to round up the animals. Why don't you water the sheep and goats so they can get back out to pasture? We can't water the animals until all the flocks have arrived, they replied. Then the shepherds moved the stone from the mouth of the well, and we water all the sheep and goats. Jacob was still talking with them when Rachel arrived with her father's flocks, for she was a shepherd. And because Rachel was his cousin, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and because the sheep and goats belonged to his uncle Laban, Jacob went over to the well and moved the stone from its mouth and watered his uncle's flock.
Mhm.
Then Jacob kissed Rachel, and he wept aloud.
Mm.
He explained to Rachel that he was her cousin on her father's side, the son of her aunt Rebekah. So Rachel quickly ran and told her father Laban. As soon as Laban heard that his nephew Jacob had arrived, he ran out to meet him, and he embraced him and kissed him and brought him home. When Laban had told him his story,
Mm.
Laban exclaimed, You really are my own flesh and blood, after Jacob, and stayed with Laban for about a month.
Mm.
After Jacob had stayed with Laban for about a month, Laban said to him, You shouldn't work for me without pay. Just because we are relatives, tell me how much your wages should be.
Mm.
Now Laban had 2 daughters. The oldest daughter was named Leah, and the younger was Rachel. There was no sparkle in Leah's eyes, but Rachel had a beautiful figure and a lovely face. Since Jacob was in love with Rachel, he told her father, I'll work for you for 7 years if you'll give me Rachel, your younger daughter, as my wife.
Mhm.
Agreed, Laban replied. I'd rather give her to you than to anyone else. Stay and work with me. So Jacob worked 7 years to pay for Rachel, but his love for her was so strong that it seemed to him but a few days. Finally, the time came for him to marry her. I have fulfilled my agreement, Jacob said to Laban. Now give me my wife so I can sleep with her. So Laban invited everyone in the neighborhood and prepared a wedding feast. But that night when it was dark, Laban took Leah to Jacob, and he slept with her. Laban had given Leah a servant, Zilpah, to be her maid. But when Jacob woke up in the morning, it was Leah. What have you done to me? Jacob raged at Laban. I worked 7 years for Rachel. Why have you tricked me?
But so that's the same thing that people are saying about him. He tricked his brother and got got his birthright. So now he see how it feel. I ain't saying that against him, but I'm saying now we should know how it feel, right? Tricking somebody. So now Laban tricked him because it was not the custom to give the younger daughter before the older one. Because if everyone keep coming and taking the younger daughter, what happened to the old daughter? She gonna stay in the mother house or the father house until she die. So they had to get rid of the old one first. That's the custom of those people. The older daughter have to go first, right? But Jacob had his eyes on Rachel, the younger one, right? So you're gonna end up getting what? Go ahead.
It's not our custom here to marry off a younger daughter ahead of the firstborn, Laban replied. But wait
Mhm.
until the bridal week is over, then we'll give you Rachel too,
Mm.
provided you promise to work another 7 years for her. So
Jesus.
Jacob agreed to work 7 more years. A week after Jacob had married Leah, Laban gave him Rachel too.
Mhm.
Laban gave Rachel a servant, Bilhah, to be her maid. So Jacob slept with Rachel too, and he loved her much more than Leah. He then stayed and worked for Laban the additional 7 years.
So now Jacob now has gonna end up with 4 women: Rachel, Leah, and their handmaids. So from these 4 women is where all the 12 sons came from. Go ahead, sis.
When the Lord saw what Leah, when the Lord saw that Leah was involved or
Was unloved.
unloved, he enabled her to have children, but Rachel could not conceive.
You hear
So
that?
she
So
became pregnant.
when the Lord saw that Jacob was not dealing right with Leah, he let Rachel stay barren and open Leah's womb so she can have children, right? Why? Because Jacob was not dealing with her right. Go ahead.
So Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben, for she said, the Lord has noticed my misery, and now my husband will love me.
Mhm.
She soon became pregnant again and gave birth to another son. She named him Simeon, for she said, the Lord heard that I was unloved and has given me another son. Then she became pregnant a third time and gave birth to another son. She named him Levi, for she said, surely this time my husband will feel affection for me, since I have given him 3 sons.
But these
But
3 sons came before Rachel even give him a son, right? These 3 sons came by Leah. So you see, we have Levi there and we have Simeon, those 2 rebels. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
once again Leah became pregnant and gave birth to another son. She
Hmm.
named him Judah, for she said, now I will praise the Lord. And then she stopped having children.
Wow. So Leah became pregnant again after her 4th son, and she called him Judah. Right? Let's go to 30, Genesis 30. We're going to read 1 to 13. So,
When Rachel saw that she wasn't having any children for Jacob, she became jealous of her sister. She pleaded with Jacob, give me children or I'll die. Then
mhm.
Jacob became furious with Rachel. Am I God? He asked. He's the one who has kept you from having children.
But when Rachel told this to Jacob, if you don't give me children, I will die. So Jacob then said, hey, am I God? He's the one that kept you from having children. Actually, no. Jacob is the one that brought that up because he was having an ill way against Leah. So that's why God kept Rachel barren and let Leah keep producing children, right? Go ahead.
Then Rachel told him, Take my maid Bilhah and sleep with her. She will bear children for me, and through her I can have a family too.
So does this sound familiar? The same thing Abraham
Sarah.
Abraham and Sarah. Yeah, the same thing with Abraham and Sarah. Take my handmaid and sleep with her and have children for me. Right? Go ahead.
So Rachel gave her servant Bilhah to Jacob as a wife, and he slept with her. Bilhah became pregnant and presented him with a son.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel named him Dan, for she said, God has vindicated me. He has heard my request and given me a son.
Mm-hmm.
Then Bilhah became pregnant again and gave Jacob a second son. Rachel named him Naphtali, for she said, I have struggled hard with my sister, and I am winning.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Leah realized that she wasn't getting pregnant anymore, so she took her servant Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Soon Zilpah presented him with a son. Leah named him Gad, for she said, How fortunate I am.
Mm-hmm.
Then Zilpah gave Jacob a second son, and Leah named him Asher, for she said, What joy is mine! Now the other woman will celebrate with me.
Mm-hmm. So now all of these Sunday names has meanings, right? Go ahead.
Am I going on?
Mm-hmm.
Leah named him Zilpah. Yeah, I think I read all. Yeah.
Skip down to 17. Read 17 to 21 and then 35.
And God answered Leah's prayers. She became pregnant again and gave birth to a fifth son for Jacob. She named him Issachar, for she said, God has rewarded me for giving my servant to my husband as a wife.
Mm-hmm.
Then Leah became pregnant again and gave birth to a sixth son for Jacob. She named him Zebulun, for she said, God has given me a good reward. Now my husband will treat me with respect, for I have given him six sons.
Mm-hmm.
Later, she gave birth to a daughter named her Dinah.
So she got Dinah. That's where Dinah come from Leah, right? So skip down to 35.
But that very day, Laban went out and removed the male goats that were streaked and spotted, all the female goats that were speckled and spotted or had white patches, and all the black sheep. He placed them in the care of his own sons.
And you know that is have even a correlation with the children of Israel, with us. So we are like speckled birds among the nations. We, Israel, is like speckled birds among the nations. So let's go now to 35, chapter 35. We're going to read 9 to 13. We're going to see now where Jacob got that name from. Genesis 35, we're going to read 9 to 13. When you get it, go ahead.
Now that Jacob had returned from Padanaram, God appeared to him again at Bethel. God blessed him. Your name is Jacob, but you will not be called Jacob any longer. For now on, your name will be Israel. So God renamed him Israel.
Hmm?
Then God said, I am El Shaddai, God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. You will become a great nation, even many nations. Kings will be among your descendants.
So now that's where Jacob got the name from. He got the name because he wrestled with an angel and have overcome. So he got the name Israel. His name was changed from Jacob to Israel. Right? Go ahead.
And I will give you the land I once gave to Abraham and Isaac. Yes, I
Hmm?
will give it to you and your descendants after you.
Hmm?
Then God went up from the place where he had spoken to Jacob.
Hmm? So this is where Jacob got his name from, the name Israel. Right? So now his descendants, that's why they refer to as the Israelites. So go to Genesis 37. I read from 3 to 18.
Jacob loved Joseph more than any of his children because Joseph had been born to him in his old age. So
Hmm?
one day Jacob had a special gift from Joseph. made for Joseph a beautiful robe. But his brothers hated Joseph because their father loved him more than the rest of them. They couldn't say a kind word to him. One night Joseph had a dream, and when he had told his brothers about it, they hated him more than ever. Listen to this dream, he said. We were out in the field tying up bundles of grain. Suddenly my bundles stood up, and your bundles all gathered around and bowed low before mine.
Mm-hmm.
His brothers responded, so you think you will be our king? Do you? Do you actually think you will reign over us? And they hated him all the more because of his dreams and the way he talked about them.
Mm-hmm.
Soon Joseph had another dream, and again he told his brothers about it. Listen, I have had another dream, he said. The sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed low before me.
Mm-hmm.
This time he told the dream to his father as well as to his brothers. But his father scolded him. What kind of dream is that? He asked. Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow to the ground before you?
And they didn't even realize that this prophecy will come to pass. They didn't even realize this. When his brothers then went to buy grain, didn't they have to bow before him in Egypt? When his father even went to meet him, all of them had to bow before him. They didn't even realize that Joseph was given this prophecy of he even saving their lives. So come saving the nation of Israel because of Joseph. Go ahead.
But while his brothers were jealous of Joseph, his father wondered what the dreams meant. Soon after this, Joseph's brothers went to pasture their father's flocks at Shechem. When they had been gone for some time, Jacob said to Joseph, your brothers are pasturing the sheep at Shechem. Get ready, and I will send you to them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to go, Joseph replied. Go and see how your brothers and the flocks are getting along, Jacob said. Then come back and bring me a report. So Jacob sent him on his way, and Joseph traveled to Shechem from their home in the valley of Hebron.
Mm-hmm.
When he arrived there, a man from the area noticed him wandering around the countryside. What are you looking for? He asked. I'm looking for my brothers, Joseph replied. Do you know where they are pasturing their sheep?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the man said to him. Yes, the man told him. They have moved on from here, but I heard them say, let's go on to Dothan. So Joseph followed his brothers to Dothan and found them there.
Mm-hmm.
When Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him in the distance as he approached. They made plans to kill him.
Wow. Go ahead. And why they did that? Because of what? Jealousy. Jealousy. That's why the Bible tell you, if you hate your brother, you are a murderer. If you hate your brother, God consider you a murderer. Just like in the case with Cain and Abel. Cain was jealous of his brother and he ended up murdering his brother. Go ahead.
But when Reuben heard of their scheme, he came to Joseph's rescue. Let's not kill him, he said. Why should we shed any blood? Let's just throw him in this empty cistern here in the wilderness. Then he
Mm,
will die without our laying of hand on him.
mm.
Reuben was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father.
Go ahead.
So when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off the beautiful robe he was wearing. Then they grabbed him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty, there was no water in it. Then, just as they were sitting down to eat, they looked up and saw a caravan of camels in the distance coming toward them. It was a group of Ishmaelite traders taking a load of gum, balm, and aromatic resin from Gilead down to Egypt.
So these Ishmaelites, who they call Moors, because Moors was traders, and then Moors used to travel from place to place to trade, right? So these Ishmaelites, or they call them Midianites too. Ishmaelite, Midianite, they're the same people. The Moors, most of them were Arab traders, right? They go from place to place to trade, right? Go ahead. So when they saw the Ishmaelites them coming, they took him out of the hole because what they're going to do? Go ahead.
Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain by killing our brother? We'd have to cover up the crime. Instead of hurting him, let's sell him to those Ishmaelite traders. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." And his brothers agreed.
Go ahead.
So when the Ishmaelites, who were Midianite traders, came by, Joseph's brothers pulled him out of the cistern and sold him to them for 20 pieces of silver, and the traders took him to Egypt.
Mm.
Sometime later, Reuben returned to get Joseph out of the cistern. When he discovered that Joseph was missing, he tore his clothes in grief. Then he went back to his brothers and lamented, the boy is gone. What will I do now?" Then the brothers killed a young goat and dipped Joseph's robe in its blood. They sent the beautiful robe to their father with this message: "Look at what we found. Doesn't this robe belong to your son?" Their father recognized it immediately. "Yes," he said, "it is my son's robe. A wild animal must have eaten him." Joseph has clearly been torn to pieces. Then Jacob tore his clothes and dressed himself in burlap. He mourned deeply for his son for a long time. His family all tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "I will go to my grave mourning my son," he would say, and then he would weep. Meanwhile, the Midianite traders arrived in Egypt, where they sold Joseph to Potiphar, the officer of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Potiphar was captain of the palace guard.
So they took Joseph down into Egypt and sold him to Potiphar, right? And there Joseph grew in Egypt. Joseph was about 12 years old when this happened. He was about 12 years old. And just imagine, our first sellers was our own brother. His own brother sold him. And the first buyers was those Ishmaelites. Those Ishmaelites took him down into Egypt and sold him down there. And up to this day, 2024, they still have Israel slaves among Ishmaelites in some of these countries. They still have Israelite slave among these Ishmaelite slave holders up to this day. All the prophets was Israel. The so-called Negroes, they're Israel. And the so-called African Americans, they're all Israel. These are the people of the book. Let's go to the book of Romans. Romans chapter 11, and we're going to read 1 to 5 and verse 7. Romans 11, 1 to 5 and 7. Because you see, most of them same Ishmaelites, you will hear them say, many nations, many people, different religion, you will hear them say, I was talking to a guy from one of those religion out there, I don't really want to call him name. And he said, why you want to be a part of that anyway? God did away with those people. So we're going to see if the Bible say that God actually did away with his people. Because if God got rid of his people completely, then the prophecy in the Bible cannot come to pass. It cannot happen. So God have to keep this promise that he made with Abraham. You have to keep the promise because he promised Abraham that he's going to take care of his children. Right? So Romans 11, we're going to read 1 to 5 and 7. Romans 11, 1 to 5 and 7. When you get it, sis, I'm ready when you're ready.
I ask then, has God rejected his own people, the nation of Israel? Of course not.
Of course
I
not.
myself am an Israelite, a descendant of Abraham and a member of the tribe of Benjamin.
So this is Paul. Has God rejected his own people, the nation of Israel? Of course not. I myself am an Israelite, a descendant of Abraham from the tribe of Benjamin. Go ahead.
No, God has not rejected his own people, whom he chose from the very beginning. Do you realize that what the scriptures say about this? Elijah the prophet complained to God about the people of Israel and said, Lord, they have killed your prophets and torn down your altars. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too.
Go ahead.
And do you remember God's reply? He said, No, I have 7,000 others who have never bowed down to Baal.
I have 7,000 more Israelites who have never bowed their knees to Baal. Go ahead.
It is the same today for a few of the people of Israel have remained faithful because of God's grace,
Mm-hmm.
his undeserved kindness in choosing them.
Go ahead, 7.
So this is the situation. Most of the people of Israel have not found the favor of God. They are looking for so earnestly. A few have, the ones God has chosen, but the hearts of the rest are hardened.
Huh? Go ahead.
11.
11.
Did God's people stumble and fall beyond recovery? Of course not. They were disobedient, so God made salvation available to the Gentiles, but he wanted his own people to become jealous and claim it for themselves.
Go ahead.
Now, if the Gentiles were enriched because the people of Israel turned down God's offer of salvation,
Mm-hmm.
think how much greater a blessing the world will share when they finally accept it.
Go ahead.
I am saying all this especially for you Gentiles. God has appointed me as the apostle to the Gentiles. I stress this for I want somehow to make the people of Israel jealous of what you Gentiles have, so I might save some of them. For since their rejection meant that God offered salvation to the rest of the world, their acceptance will be even more wonderful. It will be life for those who were dead. And
Mm-hmm.
since Abraham and the other patriarchs were holy, their descendants will also be holy, just as
Mm-hmm.
the entire batch of dough is holy because of the portion given as an offering is holy.
Mm-hmm.
For if the roots of the tree are holy, the branches will be too.
Branches
But
will also be too. Go ahead.
some of these branches from Abraham's tree, some of the people of Israel have been broken off, and you Gentiles who were branches for a wild olive tree have been grafted in. So
Mm-hmm.
now you also receive the blessing God has promised Abraham and his children, sharing in the rich nourishment from the root of God's special olive tree.
Mm-hmm.
But you must not brag about being grafted in to replace the branches that were broken off. You are just a branch, not the
Mm-hmm.
root.
Not the root. Go ahead.
Well, you may say those branches were broken off to make room for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but remember, those branches were broken off because they didn't believe in Christ, and you are there because you do believe. So don't think highly of yourself, but fear what could happen.
Hear what could happen. Go ahead.
For if God not for if God did not spare the original branches, he won't spare you either.
Definitely
Notice
not.
how notice how God is both kind and severe. He is severe toward those who disobeyed, but kind to you if you continue to trust in his kindness. But if you stop trusting, you also will be cut off. And if
Sure.
the people of Israel turn from their unbelief, they will be grafted in again, for God has the power to graft them back in the tree.
Mm-hmm.
You by nature were a branch cut from a wild olive tree. So if God was willing to do something contrary to nature by grafting you into his cultivated tree, he will be far more eager to graft the original branches back into the tree where they belong.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to understand this mystery, dear brothers and sisters, so that you will not feel proud about yourselves. Some
Mm-hmm.
of the people of Israel have hard hearts, but this will last only until the full number of Gentiles comes to Christ.
So it will only happen until the full number of Gentiles come to Christ. Have God cast away his people? No, by any means. Israel is prophesied to rule in the kingdom to come. Them 12 gates going to have the 12 tribes of Israel name over them. Let's read Jeremiah 31 and see what it says. Jeremiah 31, and we're going to read 35 to 40. Jeremiah 31, and we're going to read 35 to 40.
It is the Lord who provides the sun to light the day, and the
Mhm,
moon and stars to light the night, and who
mhm,
stirs the sea into roaring waves. His name is the Lord of heaven's armies. And this
mhm,
is what he says:
mhm,
I am as likely to reject my people Israel as I am to abolish the laws of nature.
mhm,
This is what the Lord says: just as the heavens cannot be measured and the
mhm,
foundations of the earth cannot be explored,
mhm.
so I will not consider casting them away. For the
Whoa.
evil they have done, I, the
Mhm.
Lord, have spoken.
This is what the Lord says. Just as the heavens cannot be measured and the foundations of the earth cannot be explored, so I will not consider casting them away for the evil that they have done. I, the Lord, have spoken it. Go ahead.
The day is coming, says the Lord, when all Jerusalem will be rebuilt for me, from the
Mm-hmm.
tower of Hananiel to the corner gate.
Mm-hmm.
A measuring line will be stretched out over the hill of Geram and across Goa, and the entire area, including the graveyard and ash dump in the valley, and all the fields out to the Kidron Valley on the east as far as the Horse Gate, will be
Mm-hmm.
holy to the Lord. The
Mm-hmm.
city will never again be captured or destroyed.
The city will never again be captured or destroyed. So as long as the sun is shining in the sky, that moon is up there, Israel cannot be lost to God. Cannot. Israel is God's chosen people. He made them a peculiar people unto himself. So the people, brothers and sisters, who are calling themselves the Jews or the Jewish people, they are not the people that is prophesying this book. The people of God right now is under subjugation. The people of God right now is under the yoke still. Is still under the yoke. We're still in bondage. We're still in slavery by these other nations. And the Bible tells you that Jerusalem going to be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So who is in the land? The Gentiles. It's not Israel, because that's what was prophesied. God took Israel out of that land for disobedience, and he's going to bring them back when he returns. Brothers and sisters, this is the lesson. I hope it was a blessing to someone. This is part one, genealogy, where we come from. We didn't give every nation on the earth where they come from. We just did the prominent one, which led to Israel. So we know that Israel is God's chosen people. They are the priests. They are the salt of the earth. They are the light. They are the lighthouse. Everyone's supposed to follow them. Everyone have to follow them. And this is going to be, brothers and sisters, when the Most High return to bring back order. Jerusalem will be rebuilt. It will be rebuilt. Nobody's going to be flying off this earth going nowhere. Jerusalem is going to be rebuilt. The children of Israel is going to be put back into their land, and they're going to be ruled again like in the former days. Again, my name is Brother Moses. We have Sister Kelly as our reader. We thank you for the lesson was kind of lengthy, but you know they have the Black History Month, which is in February. So we have a 4-part lesson. So every week we're going to be doing one. The next one will be color. The next one will be color. So let's pray out and then we can get out of here. Pray out and we can get out of here. Brothers and sisters, if you have any comments, you can leave it, you know, and tell us, just give us your feedback on what you think about the lesson. Anything that can be straightened up, anything that you see that is left out, you can always give your feedback. We thank you really for listening on. So, brothers and sisters, our Father who art in heaven,
Our Father who art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Kingdom come,
Thy kingdom come,
will be done in earth
thy will be done in earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily bread,
Forgive us our debts.
and forgive us our debts,
We forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
Lead us not into temptation.
And lead us not into temptation,
Deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
Thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
the power,
the power,
and the glory.
the glory.
In Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Again, brothers and sisters, we thank you. Happy Shabbat, happy Sabbath, happy Shabbat, happy Sabbath to all the Sabbath keepers. And please like, share, and give your feedback, give your comment, and subscribe, brothers and sisters. And again, we'll see you on the second leg, the second half, which is color. The second half, which is color. We're doing our own Black history because the history that they teach us in school, that's not our history. That is their history. That's not our history, the one they're teaching us in the school. So I was so glad when they said that they took the Bibles out of school, took prayers out of school, because they had us praying to not the God of the Bible, not the creator of the Bible. They had us praying to another God, another creator. The history that they're teaching us, that's not ours, that's theirs, that's their history. You know, somebody always say when the rabbit, the case with the rabbit and the turtle is whoever is telling the story. You know what I mean? Whoever is telling the story, they tell the story to fit their narrative. So again, we thank you for your ears, brothers and sisters. We're signing out.